Tracy, welcome to the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
Will you tell us the story? Was this planned?
It wasn't planned. It was definitely something we had talked about. We have a son who's 4. So I was 37 when I had him. And then a year and a half, when he was a year and a half, I went to have a procedure done, and they make you take, because it's under an x-ray machine. So they make you take a pregnancy test. And I found out I was pregnant. I miscarried that one at 8 weeks. So I think at that point, it was one of those conversations where we got excited again. We didn't know if we wanted more kids, but then by getting pregnant and having the miscarriage, it was a conversation we had to have with each other. And I think we were both open if it happened. We are both big in our faith and our religion. So we just said it's God's plan, whatever God has planned for us. So it was one of those where if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Secretly, after the miscarriage, I really wanted a girl. I just really want a girl in life. I want a daughter, to be able to bring her up and encourage her and empower her and give her everything that I've always wanted. We weren't in a good place. So obviously it takes 2 people to make a pregnancy work. So it was not like we were necessarily trying. So I just gave up on the thought of having another one. I was like, all right, I just turned 40 and I'm just going to start focusing on myself. Right before my 40th birthday, we just got out of being in the hospital for 2 weeks with COVID pneumonia. I got out of the hospital a week before my 40th birthday. So I turned 40, and it was one of those things where it's like, I shifted my mind and I said, I need to start focusing on me. I need to start focusing on building strength, because I have a child I need to take care of already. And I'm 40 and he's 3. So I need to shift how I'm thinking. And then ironically, the day I got to my pre-pregnancy weight and stronger than I was before, I found out I was pregnant, and it just kind of happened naturally.
That's awesome. It's like your body said, oh, you're ready now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I thought of it. It was like, maybe I just wasn't ready because of the things that were going to happen. And when I got pregnant and had the miscarriage, it was actually August and September. And we were getting married that December. I would have been pregnant during our wedding. We had already postponed our wedding the first time because we found out we were pregnant with our son, which was a surprise. It was like, okay, now I guess I'm going to be a few months pregnant. I was going to be 20 weeks pregnant at our wedding. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll do the wedding cake. And then we miscarried, and I believe God had a plan for us, and it just wasn't the time. So I got to truly enjoy our wedding. I got to truly enjoy our honeymoon. And now we have our almost 6-month-old daughter.
Yeah, that's great. And thanks for sharing about your miscarriage. I'm sorry it happened, but I really try to encourage women to discuss miscarriage more. And I appreciate that.
I think it is nice to talk about, because some women, they might not have anyone to talk about. So to know that someone else has truly been going through that, you never know what to say to them. And it's okay that you don't know what to say, but by knowing other people have gone through, it helps.
Will you tell us the story of how you got pregnant and finding out?
Absolutely. The one that I was in my 40s with, I just felt off one day, and I was working at my small business, and the girl I was working with, I told her, I was like, I think I might be pregnant. I just feel really weird. I feel really off. She's like, are you late? And I was like, no, I'm not late or anything. I'm not supposed to start for 3 days. And then something that afternoon was like, just stop and get a test. So I stopped and got a test, and I took it, and I was like, oh, I don't know. This line is very faint. It could be like, but I'm like, I've taken tests before, and it was clearly a no line. So I was like, all right. I told my husband that night, I was like, I think I might be pregnant. He's like, take it again in the morning. Are you sure? It's a very faint line. So I took a pregnancy test again in the morning. It was a little bit darker. The next morning, it was a little bit darker. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant at this point. So it was definitely a surprise. But ironically, it was the day I found out, the day I took that first test, was the day I finally got to my pre-pregnancy weight from my first pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
I was just like, are you kidding me? I just got back into the best shape, and now I'm pregnant again.
So now you're pregnant. Tell us, how was your pregnancy?
So night and day compared to my first. Like I said, my first pregnancy, I was 36, 37 when I had him. This pregnancy, I was 40 and then 41 when I had her. And I share this as part of my story, because if any of you end up following me on social media, I'm very big on being inspired by wellness, nutrition, fitness. And with my son, I was a surprise pregnancy. I'm going to share part of that just because I find it funny. One of my best friends was late. I was a day late, and she's, please take a pregnancy test with me. I'm scared to take one alone. I end up being the one pregnant, and she was not, even though she was a week late. I just lost 30 pounds, and I was like, All right. So my first pregnancy, mentality wise, I was in a bad space in my head where I got depressed during my pregnancy. I didn't want in my head. I was just like, I want the pregnancy, but I don't want to gain the weight. So like, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to gain all this weight. And I wasn't thinking the way that I thought in the next pregnancy. So from the first pregnancy to the second pregnancy, even though I was older, my mindset was so much different because I feel like I truly trained and prepped myself that if God blessed me with another, that's how I looked at it. If God blesses me with another child, I want to be able to mentally know that as a woman, our bodies are meant to expand and grow and nurture that child. We are growing a human being inside of us. I truly feel like God gave us as women that ability to have children and birth them because we are capable of doing so much compared to a man. Nothing against a man because I feel like they are capable of doing other things that we might not be capable of. So just the whole mentality of how I looked at my pregnancy was totally different this time around.
So did you find out the gender during pregnancy?
Yes. So I'm a planner. I was an event planner before and I love planning events. I just couldn't go without knowing it. It was just one of those things where it's like, I need to know because I have some boy stuff saved and some gender neutral stuff. But if it's a girl, I want the ribbons, the bows,
Yeah.
the
We're going pink all the way.
I want the princess stuff. So it was definitely one of those where it's like, I want to know. So we talked about it and we just did the DNA testing for gender. So I told him, I was like, if it comes back a girl, we're for sure having a girl. But if it comes back a boy, I told him, I'm still going to hold up and hope until the 20-week ultrasound because maybe my son's DNA or his DNA in the house ruined the test. When it came back, we did and you get the email with the kit. So you send in your information, they give you, and they send you the email. So we did a video of us opening up the email to find out it was a girl.
Oh, cute.
The Easter last year in Easter, I had my sister make a little shirt because we did our pregnancy announcement. We did a Toy Story themed. So we had our son in a box that said toys. He was dressed as Woody and it said, you got a friend in me, my best friend coming. The date was 11/11/2022 was our due date. So then we had a shirt that said each of our family member had to open the egg. It had the onesie in it that said my best friend and it had a picture of Jesse. So it was,
Cute.
so yeah, being a planner, I definitely wanted to know. I couldn't wait.
And how was it finding out? You found out through email, right?
Yeah, it was different because our friends did a cake. So we cut a cake in front of our families, but
Well, that's how you found out.
for the first one. This one
Oh,
we found out via email. So it was different finding out that way, but I wanted to know so bad. And I think there was like a relief because I was like, oh my God, I wonder if it comes back a boy. Am I going to just be that boy mom, which I would have been okay with. But secretly, when I found out the first one, because at 37 with my first pregnancy, I was thinking it was one and done. I wasn't going to have any more kids just because of the stereotypical things you hear out there. I just started getting fearful that maybe that was my one shot of having a child. And so when I found out he was a boy, I was like holding back tears. It's not that I wasn't happy. It was just, I wanted a girl in case this was like a one and done thing. But I now have my girl and I'm beyond happy. And it's amazing because my son was like a mama's boy and he still is. And you can tell she's going to be such a daddy's girl because she has him wrapped around her finger. It's the best.
and how was it? Were you just scanning the email looking for boy or girl on there?
So it plays a little video. So it
Oh,
doesn't say it in the email. You can open the email and not know. You have to press the video because then the video plays and then it pops up pink with confetti.
oh, how did you feel when you
I
know it's a
felt,
girl?
I just was like, thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. I was just happy because I have an older brother and it was just that protection from having an older brother. So it was like, I just wanted that for my kids. I always dreamed of having a boy and a girl with the boy being older so he can protect his younger sister. I also have a younger sister. I have a half sister who's 13 years younger than me. So I was a teenager when I quit being the baby. But so I had both, but it was just my personal dreams as a little girl was I was going to have two kids. I was going to have the boy, then I was going to have the girl. So watching it unfold, it's like my dreams are coming true.
That's awesome. And was there any product that you couldn't live without or you would recommend that helped with pregnancy?
I'm very into my nutrition. So my tea concentrate was what gave me life. I drink it 2 times a day, my herbal tea concentrate. I actually was what made me sick also. So I had to eat like an apple with peanut butter before I can drink it. So I didn't have an empty stomach. It gave me energy because as I'm having a toddler and then being pregnant, it was totally different. It was a different type of tired. I loved the collagen. The collagen that I take has a Verisol collagen, which is provenly known to help with skin elasticity. And I didn't want to add more stretch marks.
That's great. And were you able to work out throughout your pregnancy?
I worked out until 38 weeks pregnant. I was really big on I worked out 7 days, 6 days. I don't know that I ever missed more than 5 days a week my entire pregnancy. Once I hit 38 weeks and the baby started dropping and that pressure, I started walking. So it's not that I wasn't working out. I just started walking at that point. So I was walking probably 4 or 5 days a week, but I wasn't necessarily lifting because the pressure it was a lot. And I was I thought I was going to go early because I started feeling the pressure so much earlier than I did with my son.
And what inspired you to keep working out throughout your pregnancy?
I really just wanted to inspire other people to show the difference in my last pregnancy and this pregnancy. Just being healthy, knowing that my bones are a little bit older, knowing that there's so much stereotypical things that are out there. I didn't want to necessarily believe anything. I wanted to do my own research on everything along the way and come up with my own facts or my own reasons of why I'm doing something. So it was just, I wanted to be able to have a healthier pregnancy. I have a lot of women that I look up to in my life who are actually younger than most of them were younger than me in their 30s, their 20s. But even just seeing how fitness helped their pregnancies from unfit to a non-fit pregnancy was very inspiring to me. So it's definitely something where I wanted to feel good and I wanted to truly enjoy the pregnancy. And this pregnancy was absolutely amazing. I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah. It sounds like you wanted to be an example of what's possible.
Absolutely. If you see my Instagram, it's inspired by wellness. I wanted to be inspiring to other women, and I've had other women reach out to me that are late 30s that are thank you for giving me hope to know that it's still possible to become pregnant as I'm reaching towards 40.
Yeah. And what about your diet? Did you change that whenever you knew you were pregnant?
No, I actually didn't. So my first pregnancy, I did not, there was a lot of things I didn't like. I think I lived on a plain cheeseburger for my first trimester because that's all when I was pregnant with my son, I swear that's all I could eat was plain cheeseburger. This pregnancy, I did change it some because this pregnancy, I could not stand the smell of meat. If chicken was grilling or beef or most meats, if they were cooking in front of me, it made me nauseous and want to go barf. And so it was one of those where if it was already cooked and I didn't smell it being cooked, I could eat it. But I'm the one who cooks my food. So I had to be very cautious or buy stuff that was already cooked because otherwise I just couldn't eat it because I had that smell in my nose. And then I was oh, that just ruined my appetite. But I didn't change anything in my diet. I just stuck to what I was doing and what was working for me. I compared a lot of not with other pregnancies, but my first pregnancy to this pregnancy. My first pregnancy, I stuck with my nutrition, but not really. This pregnancy, I truly stuck with my nutrition, my fitness. And it was just night and day, how I carried the baby, how I felt, even how obviously once I go into my delivery story and stuff, it's just to me all been an amazing experience.
That's great. And how did you prepare for birth and baby?
So I definitely tried to find what exercises are going to help. So I did a lot of squats just because to keep my legs strong. So I did a lot of squats. I did a lot of yoga. I did yoga once a week just to continue stretching my body. Our bodies are naturally meant to deliver babies. So it was just, what are the things that are going to help me go into delivery, the position that's comfortable to me, what are the exercises that are going to help me stretch those areas or help me stretch those hips? So I did a lot of hip stretching. I did a lot of yoga and lifting weights because I wanted the strength. And then I also practiced, I don't even know what to call it, but that primal sitting where you're in a really deep squat, your arms are on kind of your knees. But I practiced that weekly of just being in that deep squat, which felt really good. You wouldn't think it felt good, but because I was practicing it every week, it really felt good. And I did that until I was through the entire pregnancy, even at 40 weeks.
Yeah. Did you think that helped with birth?
I definitely do because I feel it helped open my hips up more. And then another thing is that I had a mom who told me, and then I started doing my own research on it, is to help prepare me for birth was dates. I'm going to share this because I want to help other people, but I eat 6 dates a day. But dates, if you look up and research, dates help loosen up your cervix. Actually, when I was at the end of my pregnancy, your cervix is very just ready to open and go. So I believe it was the dates, because I did not have dates my first pregnancy. So I was like, it's worth a try. And the doctor actually even said she was going to do more research on it, because if she feels that could help, she's going to share it with her future patients.
Oh, interesting.
Never had a date in my life until this pregnancy.
Did it help you be super regular too?
I was already regular because of some of the nutrition products that I was using. I drank an aloe every day, which that was another product. I drank an aloe concentrate, which I think helped keep my digestive system going, because in pregnancy, naturally, you're going to get backed up. You're going to get constipated.
Yeah.
I know people don't like talking about your digestion, but it's only natural. Everything is getting crammed into your stomach. So your digestion system just shrinks, and so making sure you're eating fiber and making sure you're doing things that are going to help your digestive system, because it's already going to have a hard enough time. I wanted to make sure I was doing things that were going to keep helping my system stay regular.
Yeah. I've had hemorrhoids since 2007, so I have no problems talking about that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think I've had them since before then. I literally want to say it was back I want to say I was in college. So early 2000s, it was just something I got them. And it's once you get them more often. Yeah. I've never had a problem talking about poop.
Yeah, me either. What doctor did you use? Did you use the same one as your first one?
I started with the same doctor I went to the first one because I love them. But the doctor, it was one of those practices where they had 8 doctors and you kind of rotated the doctors. And then as we found out we were pregnant and started having the conversations, we were both 3 to 3.5 hours from either set of parents. So it was one of those where my husband applied with his company and ended up getting a transfer. So at 24 weeks pregnant, we moved states. So we moved 3.5 hours away, and I had to find a new doctor at 24 weeks. I kept hearing that I was a geriatric pregnancy. I was so nervous to find a new doctor, but because we moved closer to my husband's family, I reached out to my sister-in-law and said, hey, who did you use? Because I know nobody. So I ended up going with the doctor that she delivered both of her kids. And there were 4 doctors in that practice. I almost fired them a week before 40 weeks because they kept wanting me to be induced. And I'm like, I'm so much healthier this time around. I feel amazing. Everything on the scans have been amazing. Like, why do I have to be induced? I just want to go naturally in my pregnancy. A week before I was 40 weeks, I met the last doctor I hadn't met yet. And she finally sat down with me. And I was like, I want to understand why. So she sat down with me and we had a good almost hour conversation. I wanted to know my facts, my pregnancy, why you may want to have me be induced when everything is showing perfectly fine. She said, a lot of it is just, these are the studies that are done, but I'm always willing to have, like, your scans look amazing. You're already 3 centimeters. There's no reason to induce you. So she was comfortable with me going to 42 weeks if I went to 42 weeks.
Good.
Being that 42 weeks was going to put me into Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm from Ohio, my husband's from Michigan. 42 weeks would have been the day of the Ohio State Michigan game, and my husband would have came home if I went into labor. So I had plus that plan that if I didn't go by Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I was going to be induced. By being induced, they were going to break my water because I was already done. So it wasn't drug induction. I was trying to stay away from drug induction for my personal beliefs.
Okay, so when did labor start?
There were all these times where it's like, am I going into labor? Am I not? But then they say, if you feel like you're having contractions, sit, because you're not going to have contractions when you're at rest. If you're in labor, the contractions are going to happen whether you're at rest or moving. I would rest and the contractions went away. I was like, I'm not in labor. But then on a Saturday, my husband was actually supposed to go to the Michigan game with one of my best friends and her husband. And I'm not going, obviously. I was already past due. I was 41 weeks in a day when I actually gave birth. So labor started on a Saturday morning. I'm going to go to work since I'm not going to the Michigan game. And I didn't say anything while he's at work, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have this baby today. Around 10 o'clock, I started having contractions, and I knew they were contractions because if I moved, if I sat, it didn't matter. The contractions were there.
Why did you think birth was going to happen then? Or labor was going to start that day? What
symptoms
did you have?
I I had already had all the symptoms for 4 weeks. Everything that they say, oh, this is a sign labor is coming. I thought I was going to go early because I kept having the signs. I had already lost my mucus plug. I already have the pressure that they say you feel the pressure when the baby drops. And I already went through the nesting 4 weeks prior to giving birth. So it's like, I've already went through all the signs that labor was supposed to happen within. Typically, they say when you look those things up, it's most of those things say labor will probably happen within a week. And I was trying everything to try to get this.
What were you trying?
The only thing I didn't do was castor oil. I did not do that. Obviously, we tried sex, different things that people say to eat, spicy foods. I'm like, I've eaten spicy foods for a week and a half now and nothing. Anytime someone told me to try something, I'm like, yep, I tried it and I still haven't gone into labor. So that Saturday, I just felt it was different because all the contractions I had before that day went away. On this occasion, they weren't going away. They were very far off. Like when I woke up, I was like, oh, I think that might have been a contraction. It was 10 or 11 a.m. I was like, all right, I'm going to start timing them. I have a contraction 11 a.m. And then for 2 hours, it was like every hour. So it was like 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m. contraction. My husband was home at this time. He got home around 12:30 to watch the Michigan football game that he couldn't go to. I told him, I think we're having this baby today. We're 45 minutes to an hour from the hospital based on traffic. So I was like, they tell you once your contractions are like 7 or 8 minutes apart to head to the hospital. And I was like, we probably should go around 15 minutes just because we're so far from the hospital. I timed them for 2 hours. They were about 30 minutes apart. Then the game was starting. Then at the end of the game, they were within 15 minutes of each other. So we already had everything packed for weeks at that time because I was past due.
Yeah.
So we had everything ready to go. So we had our son with us. My mom's in Ohio. She's trying to figure out, do I come? She had already come to visit 2 other times thinking I was going to go early. His parents are down to 1 car and his dad was working the Michigan game. So his mom didn't have transportation. So we're trying to coordinate everything. My mom was having my siblings over and she's like, do I tell them? Do I come? I was like, Mom, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm going to have this baby soon. All right, I'm going to start driving. When you tell me you're going to the hospital, we had to coordinate everything. His sister had to meet us at the hospital to pick up our toddler. I swear every bump made my contractions go closer and closer under the way. And I know someone said car rides, bumpy car rides, like they're not lying. Once you're having contractions, bumpy car rides, I feel like they sped my contractions up because every bump, it was like a contraction right after each bump. So by the time I got to the hospital, the contractions were 3 to 4 minutes apart. So get checked in, drop the toddler. My sister takes our toddler to my mother-in-law's. And then by the time I get to my room, the contractions were about a minute or 2 apart. So this all started 10, 11 a.m. to at that time, the whole process of labor, I had gave birth at 10:03 p.m. So it was just over 12 hours, the whole labor process.
Wow. So take us back. You got in the room. You already handed off your other son. What else is going on during that time?
So we had football on the TV. It was a football Saturday. I didn't really care. I was just trying to breathe through the contractions. So we're in the room. I kind of was just texting on my phone, on my Facebook, Instagram, on my social media, just breathing through the contractions. From the time we got into the room to the time delivery, it was 3.5 hours. I feel like it went really fast compared to my first pregnancy.
Yeah.
I had people reaching out, was like, hey, I haven't seen you on Instagram and your stories today. You okay? Because at that point, I'm past due. So everybody's checking in. I had to do a daily story. Hey, still pregnant. And obviously, once the contractions started happening, I wasn't doing as many stories. So I was texting my sister, updating my family.
Do you remember when your transition happened?
I don't know if I do. Like, I'm just trying to think of that day. Everything was going so fast and the progress was just really fast. I don't know that I remember.
Do you remember those last pushes?
I'm sorry if I make anyone jealous. I don't mean to, but I only pushed once. One push,
Stop
2
it.
breaths, and she was out. My doctor's office was actually not on call that weekend. So I actually had a different doctor. They had warned me about that. It was like, if you go into labor this weekend, there's a different doctor. She's really nice. You'll really like her. So literally the doctor that ended up deliver, I spent 15 minutes with her. She came in, delivered the baby and left. I was like, she got paid a lot of money for that 15 minutes. She was in awe. She's like, did that just happen? Once I was ready to push, because the nurse was like, all right, I'll be back to check on you. And she's like, just let me know if you feel like it's going to happen. So she was going to leave. And I was like, I feel like I got to poop. And she's, I think you're ready. I'm at 6 centimeters. It was 8:30, ready to go. It was one of those where they're like, okay, you haven't broken your water yet. So we're probably going to just break your water to try to speed this process along. They take this thin, like, stick, I don't know what else to call it, and just go in there and pops. The intensity of your contractions once they break your water go from 0 to 10, because I was at 6 centimeters breathing through my contractions fine. They were happening every 1 to 3 minutes. I was doing okay. But man, once they broke that water, it was pain straight up my back. I had no back pain prior to that. I had all back labor with my first son, and all that back labor started hitting me. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it at this point. I was like, I'm struggling. I could tell I was starting to lose focus. I was doing so well prior to that. But when they broke that water, it was just a different type of pain. We tried to go as natural as possible. I was like, is it too late to ask for an epidural? They're like, we need to do it now if we were going to do it. And I was like, just do it. At this point, my back is on fire. I can't feel my back. It's throbbing. They got the anesthesiologist in there to give me the epidural, and he ended up hitting a nerve because I jumped almost off the bed. It was just like, oh my God, did I make the wrong choice? What am I doing? But he got the epidural in, and literally less than an hour, the baby was already here. And then I'm like, man, I probably should have just pushed past that hour. So once I told the nurse that, yeah, I feel like I'm going to poop. I definitely feel my butt is clenching. She's like, yeah, you're about to have this baby. So she checked me. I was definitely dilated. They had the doctor come in to check. We're just going to do a practice push. Don't push, just do a practice push. I go to do my practice push, and she's like, guys, we got to get stuff ready. So then she gets everything ready, and she's all right, on your next contraction, I want you to push. And I'm like pushing, and midway through the push, I took one inhale so I can do a second breath, and she was out. The doctor just was like, that was probably the fastest delivery I've ever witnessed once pushing started. My mom was taking pictures. There's 2 pictures because it went so fast. I'm sorry, I tried. But yeah, the whole process went so fast. So I only have 2 pictures.
If you had to go back, would you not choose the epidural?
I would not. I think if we were to ever get pregnant again, I would continue to train, because I do believe a lot of it is mind over matter. I think the back pain was maybe, I don't know if a better environment, a more supportive environment, or having someone who knows what to do to help me. Yes, my mom's got 3 kids naturally, but a midwife or a doula or anything like that, they're more trained to know, okay, if you're having back pain, let's get you in this position. Like, I think if we were to ever to get pregnancy, I might look that route to have, because I was training really hard for natural. I was training my mind, I was training my body, and obviously the labor went really fast, but I think I definitely would just try not to.
What about cord cutting? Was that important, or keeping the placenta? Was that important to you?
It was something I looked into, like the cord banking and stuff, just for financial reasons. It gets pricey, and we just had to make decisions that were best for our family. But the cutting of the umbilical cord, same thing with my first. It was definitely something my husband, it was a moment for him. It's just something for him.
So how was recovery?
It was great. I never took any Tylenol after delivery. They kept offering me Tylenol. They're like, here for your pain. I was like, I'm not in any pain. I wasn't lying. I just didn't feel pain. I was like, I don't even feel like I gave birth. It was so ironic and weird. And I truly believe, from all of the working out as long as I did through that pregnancy and all of the training, I really do believe that was a big part of it, because I don't know how else to explain it, to feel like you didn't even give birth the day after you gave birth.
Wow. And what was the weight of your daughter when she was born?
Sure.
For
So
context.
She was 8 pounds, 3 ounces.
So not totally small.
No.
I would say average.
Average, yeah. Our son was 8 pounds, 6 ounces. So she was only 3 ounces smaller than him.
That's so impressive.
And the doctor was crazy because she had the perfectly round head, like no flat spot, nothing. I think that's just because you gave birth so fast. She didn't get caught in the canal or anything. She just popped right out. So it didn't affect the head at all.
Wow. And how did you choose to feed your daughter?
So breastfeeding was definitely how I wanted to go. I breastfed my son for 10 and a half months. I got sick and was on antibiotics back to back with him. So I kind of naturally dried up with the antibiotics that I was on, but I made it to 10 and a half months. So my goal for her is to make it to a year. And if I make it longer, I do. But as long as I still have milk coming out, my goal is to make it a year nursing.
And what about your diet during breastfeeding? Do you think you have to eat more?
Even in my diet during pregnancy, it wasn't until the third trimester that I started eating more, because I think my first pregnancy, the difference was I had the mentality as I'm eating for two, but like when you first get pregnant, you're feeding a little tiny jelly bean. And it was just like, I had to get out of that mindset. So in this pregnancy, it was like, no, you really don't need to start eating more until the third trimester when the baby starts really growing. So then with nursing, it's just going back to eating and still eating those extra calories, about 300 extra calories a day than what I would have been eating, but then also focusing on making sure I'm getting healthy fats for my milk production and making sure so that she thrives too.
And mentally, how were you during this time?
Recovery is where it hit me more in this pregnancy, where the first pregnancy, the depression was during the pregnancy of that mentality of I'm going to gain the weight again. With this one, I struggled with two. I reached out to a few friends who have multiple kids, and a lot of them kept telling me going from 1 to 2 was harder than 2 to 3. 2 to 3 was nothing. 1 to 2 was the hardest. It was something about that even number, they said, because I have one that has 4. She said 1 to 2 and 3 to 4 were the harder ones, but 1 was, and then 2 to 3 were easier. I don't know why. I can't explain it. So mentality wise, I definitely got into a depression. I had to reach out to friends and ask for help. I wasn't embarrassed or ashamed. I know other women have gone through it. So I reached out to a friend who also had postpartum depression. I had to start doing the things that I was doing that kept my mind in a good place beginning with. Tracy, get back on a routine. It's hard to be on a routine when you have a newborn. They're nursing 12, 13 hours of the day. So I had to try to get on somewhat of a routine for myself, because I'm a big believer in self-care. Like, how can you take care of others if you can't take care of yourself? I had to start pouring into me again and making sure I'm doing things I do daily. Is like, I do daily gratitude. I do personal development to make sure I'm like putting things into my brain that are good things. And it's not the news, or it's not the junk or the negativity on social media. I'm feeding my mind good things so that good things come out to help other people. So it was definitely getting back into that routine, and then making sure those first few weeks you're like just trying to survive, especially with nursing. If anyone's been on a nursing journey, you know, those first few weeks, it's just like you have a newborn attached to you, like, but it's critical during that part. You're keeping another human being alive off of your milk production. So then it was like, make sure to clean up my eating and things like that.
Did journaling help? Is that how you kind of gave gratitude?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have this whole process. It started actually after I got out of the hospital I started journaling. So I have a 3-step process. So I don't try to journal at night. I found the morning works the best. I write gratitude. I write at least 4 things I'm grateful for from the day before. And it could be as simple as I'm grateful for an extra hour of sleep. I'm grateful for traveling. I'm grateful and blessed that I got safely to Ohio, or I'm grateful, whatever it may be. Like, I think of 4 things from the day before that I'm grateful for. I think of 4 I am statements. I'm grateful and blessed that I'm the highest version of myself that God wants me to be, or I'm grateful, whatever that may be. I'm grateful and blessed that I'm a master communicator, because that's something I always thrive to work better with, whether it's my relationship, my friendships. And then I think of things in the future that I'm grateful and blessed, and try to speak them into existence. I really find that helps because it gives me a focus. Tracy, these are the things that you want in the future that you're writing about daily. You're refocusing on those, and then they're in your forefront more. So then it's easier to not push things aside. Don't use an excuse, because those are the things you want. And if you use the excuse, you're not going to get the things you want.
It's like you're reprogramming your brain to focus on positivity.
Absolutely.
It takes work, but it's well worth it.
Yeah. It's been a year and a half of doing this every day. And
That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to go over about your birth or pregnancy?
I think it was just one of those things where it's like, you have to be an advocate for yourself. That's a big thing I want to let people know is be your own advocate. I believe in any aspect of your life, you have to be your own advocate, do your own research. You don't have to just believe what someone tells you because that's what everybody's story is different. You have your own story and your story could help so many other people. So be your own advocate for you and what you feel is best for you and your family and in your decisions. Between our first pregnancy and second pregnancy is our friends all know this, so I'm like an open book, but I'll share this. My husband, our first pregnancy, part of the reason it was hard is my husband lost a child at 19 days old prior to me. So he had already lost a child. He got to hold his child, name his child, all of that. And he lost a child at 19 days old. So I think going through the first pregnancy, there was a lot of pressure. He was feeling pressure. Oh my God, what happens? And that, especially once the baby was born. So this time around, already having a healthy 4-year-old, this time around, the pregnancy was different in our relationship. And I think the other thing I share is if you're in a relationship with going through your pregnancy, you have your spouse, you're in a relationship with your significant other, there's going to be ups and downs in your pregnancy, and it's okay. You're going to have high highs, you're going to have low lows. Your hormones are all over the place, especially while pregnant, especially while postpartum. But don't let that ruin your relationship. Continue to communicate with one another through those things, because that's a huge part, I feel, that has helped my husband and I have a stronger relationship. We've never been in a stronger spot, and we're 2 kids in.
And how old is your daughter now?
By the time that this podcast airs, she's 5.5 months now. So by the time this airs, she'll be almost 7 months.
That's great. And do you have any plans to have more kids in your 40s?
I'm okay with 2, but at the same time, my husband and I are both, neither of us will go get fixed or whatever the procedure is. We just believe that if God wants us to have more kids and we're not careful in our planning of things, then if it happens, but we're not actively trying for sure, but we weren't trying for the others either. They were just surprises. I'm on my journey of getting back to, and I don't want to say my pre-pregnancy because I truly believe each journey is different. This journey for me, it's all about strength. It's like, I'm trying to be the strongest version of myself because I have 2 kids. I'm carrying 2 kids. I'm carrying groceries. I have a toddler who's a mommy's boy. He's 4. He's 40 pounds. He still likes to be carried. I'm trying to work on me again to build my strength, especially at our age. It's easy that if we're not taking care of our bodies and we're not taking care of ourselves, it's easy as we age for our bodies to feel worse. And I don't want that. If there's anything I can do to help make my body feel better, make my mind feel better, make me feel better. So by eating healthy, by working out, I just feel better. And that to me fuels it that I can then take care of my young kids at 41 years old.
And what has been your biggest challenge being pregnant in your 40s?
I think my biggest challenge is, and I don't know if it's a challenge or it was just a frustration, is I was so tired of hearing that I was a geriatric pregnancy. I heard that for both because a lot of days nowadays, there's a lot that at 35 is when they consider that threshold of when you become higher risk. And I was like, why am I high? Because of my age. And then I really fought for the belief that there's more research these days. There's more women having kids at 35, at 40 plus. Like some of these researches, like when were they done? Because yes, back in the day, 20s, 30s was starting to get a little old back in the day, but we're not back in the day. We're in 2023. More women are focusing more on their career, focusing more on what they want to be in life, and not just getting married, having kids. I think that's an amazing thing because for me, I thought I was going to get married and have kids after high school or after college. It wasn't in the cards because I wasn't going to settle for less than what I deserved. I really focused on me. And like when the right person came along, I feel like that was then great. As long as we're willing to work together through the goods and the bad. So that's going to be the thing. I don't know that it was necessarily a challenge, more of a frustration. It's like, I did not want to be a stereotype. I wanted to be different. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to be an inspiration to show what is possible.
Yeah. Do you think we should have a different name or no name at all?
I don't think we should have any name at all. I think there
Label.
are situations as we age, there are things that could take effect that could make your pregnancy high risk. But I feel pregnancy should be a case by case basis. Every person's body is different.
Yeah, I love that. Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth?
I definitely recommend books. So a book I would recommend was Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. So it was a little bit different of a book. It wasn't your what to expect when expecting, because I feel like that was a good book when I went through my first pregnancy, but for this pregnancy, I wanted to look at things differently. I would definitely say find a community. There's so many Facebook communities, so many Instagram communities, so many podcasts nowadays. Find something that you can listen to, because whatever it is you're going through, just don't go through it alone. If you have questions, ask the questions. Find the community that you feel like you belong in and reach out. If you hear my story and you're inspired by something, reach out. I'm an open book. I have no problem sharing anything about my story. I'm a pretty open book.
And what advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
Advice I would give myself if I could go back would just be continue to embrace the journey, continue to live day by day, continue to enjoy every moment as if it's your last pregnancy, and truly embrace your body and what your body is capable of doing through a pregnancy.
I love that. And where can our listeners find you on the internet?
So you can find me on both Facebook, Instagram. On Facebook, you can look me up as Tracy Gabrielsen. I think you actually have to look me up as Tracy Post Gabrielsen, which has my maiden and married name. And then on Instagram, it's inspired_by_wellness. And I believe you can also search Tracy Gabrielsen and you'll see my Inspired by Wellness profile come up as well.
Awesome. Tracy, thank you so much for sharing your story and being a wonderful inspiration.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm grateful and blessed to be on the show. So thank you so much. I am very inspired by what you're doing here for women who are trying or are pregnant in their 40s. I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for what you're doing.